Hello everyone, welcome to Club Deck Corner here on Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. We are live on YouTube and on Twitter tonight, or X. Get yourself subscribed to the channel, get yourself involved in the live chat as we discuss all things Rangers. Joining me tonight, my name's Scott Carney. Joining me tonight is the A member of the B team. Does that make sense? Scott Gemmell. Scotia, how's it going?
Carney, everyone knows who you are. Yes, no, I'm very good, Carney. Very good.
I think people know you more than they know me. Let's be honest about that, mate.
Possibly. No, not at all, actually. No, I'm okay. One of my last kind of 3 nights before uni begins in earnest again next week, so making the most of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's just a table for two tonight, mate, with just me and you being here. The B member of the B team has asked his other half to marry him. So congratulations to the future Mr. and Mrs. Pearson. Don't know why she said yes to them, but you know, all those things have to happen, I suppose. But no, congratulations to Ali and his good lady. And they're off celebrating their engagement. So Ali will be back soon. You can all give him pelters for the fact his missus actually said yes to him. We will go from positives to, well, we'll stay positive, Scotia. That's what we'll do. We'll try our hardest to remain as positive as possible tonight. We will start with the win in the league. We won a game of football in the league, mate, and it's the end of September. Who would have thought that would catch on? Well, if we do it twice in a row, I suppose you can say it catches on. But we didn't half leave it late, mate, against Livingston. A 94th minute winner by Max Aarons, of all people, get Rangers out of West Lothian with a win. Eventually. Your overall take on the match, mate, before we break it down any further? It was definitely a last gasp winner, really.
Yeah, I mean, I was beginning to forget what league wins felt like. It's been that long. It was good to win, don't get me wrong. I'm also not going to lie, and there was a part of me, and a bigger part than I thought would be like, oh no, we've got a winner. That means he's in the job a bit longer. I'm not going to lie, that kind of thought did go across my mind, but not massively. But I was certainly slightly bigger than I thought it would. Overall, the game, there were some very good parts. There were some average parts, and there were some very bad parts. It was similar to a few games that I've seen Rangers play this season. Good in flashes, very poor in other flashes. And it's still a wee bit off where I want it to be. It was last week, me and Ali were discussing the Hibs game, which I know we'll go on to talk about, like some of the comments made by Martin and things. But I came away with the same kind of feeling in terms of, see if this had happened earlier in the season and what followed. If it hadn't happened, I might be feeling a bit more upbeat. I just have to say that. But with the way things have gone, yes, delighted that we've finally got the victory, finally pulled ourselves off the kind of the very bottom end of that table. We're still in the bottom end of the table, unfortunately. But hopefully this can kind of help us start to progress forwards. But I hold my breath in that because I'm not got the most confidence that will happen.
I can't disagree with any of that, Scotia. I'm never going to be upset at a last-minute goal. It's always great to get that. It's kind of what football's all about, I suppose. And you are right. If this was something that happened at the start of the season, and then obviously if we follow on from this and we go on, win more games, maybe a draw, whatever, but you could see a bit of progress, then you wouldn't be as kind of, not downbeat about a win, but just it's like a win, but very much nothing changes for me. Everything's exactly the same. It's not really moved forward for me in any way, shape or form. I'm still not a firm believer that Russell Martin is actually going to be able to turn this around, but that's all stuff we'll come to later in the podcast. But it was a win, and it was a win, and I was delighted at that. But it is massively concerning to me as a Rangers fan, as somebody who's been going to Ibrox for near on 30 years now, that after it, I was quite quickly back to feeling the kind of neutral that I feel about Rangers just now, the kind of flatline effect that Rangers have. Usually you would have a skip in your step after a last minute winner, but right now we are still at the very much of the early days, should this be a turning point or not for Russell Martin. At the game itself, Scotia, he made more changes than I thought he would make to the the starting 11 with Majowski coming back in and Ant-Man playing on the right-hand side with Mikey Moore dropping out. Also, Diomande not getting a start after his pretty poor performance midweek, and the Connor Barron coming into the midfield to replace him. What was your take on it? Do you think Russell Martin's still tinkering very much with the idea of who his best 11 are, or do you think he is very much going to continue on as a kind of rotational manager? The back four does seem, settled as in choice selection. I think he's decided that it's Tavernier, Suter, Cornelius and Ngoma at the back for him, but the rest still tends to fluctuate a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's the exact team I picked for the game against Hibs. Yeah, it was the exact team that I picked against Hibs. I expected Majowski and Ant-Man or certainly expected Majowski. Thought Ant-Man probably would come back in. It was the one in the middle. I think I'd went for Diomande over Barron, but I can understand the reasoning for it on that pitch and things, and obviously just given what had been on in the. I know obviously he wasn't suspended for our league game, but given how he went off, it was. And Diamande's kind of like that. He walks the kind of tightrope the way he goes into challenges that it could kind of happen. So, yeah, I could understand this team selection. This is one of my concerns is that Russell Martin's kind of thrown out what he said that he was going to be set out to do at the start of the season because it wasn't working. It was clearly not working the way he was going about things. At the minute, I get the feeling that the way he's going to set out is he's just going to try and play as much a settled team as he can with some rotation, probably further up the field, until we can get a wee bit of stability in terms of results and performances. Because he needs to at the minute, and until he does that, he can't really then start to integrate players that perhaps, like Max Aarons is a good example. I mean, I was pretty much done with him after Bruges. But I don't think he'll be brought in until we start getting a more settled team, more settled results. If and when that does happen. It's the change of philosophy from Martin for me that's a bit of a weird one that he's come in, done this, but he was going nowhere with what he was trying to do, playing players out of position. There's still actually a wee bit of we maybe get into it when we speak about where certain players were playing in the game and at the weekend there that players are still kind of being playing out of position and they're getting asked to do stuff that perhaps it doesn't come naturally to them, isn't their first instinct on the pitch. I think you've seen wee bits and pieces of that in the team at the weekend there.
I think the players are stuck in a do I stay, do I go? And by that I mean have I to be over there or have I to be over there? And it's almost as if because he's reverted, he's regressed away from what I believe his full ideology is in terms of football and how it should look. I think he has went back the way, and I don't even necessarily want to say that it's dumbing it down or simpling it down for players, but I just feel like he's realised himself, right, what I'm doing with the players that I have available, they're not going to be able to do that. And I'm not blaming the players and recruitment or whatever. They were recruited for this style, for what Russell Martin is trying to do, but it's hard to criticise him for changing it because I was the one that was criticising for refusing to change, if that makes sense. But it is still massively concerning that he's quite quickly went, right, I need to go, not back the way, but I need to change the course slightly of where I want this team probably to eventually end up being. At the end of the day, what Russell Martin was doing previously, we were not doing the fundamentals correctly. Rangers, we've kind of lost the ability to do the fundamentals of a football game. And in Scotland, you work harder than the other team, you take care of the ball, etc. Just the things that we all know as Scottish football fans, as Rangers fans, there's no excuse. There's no alternative to what you have to do in these games. Whereas we weren't doing that. We are doing it slightly better just now. Don't get me wrong in terms of what I've seen in bits on Sunday. But there's still a long, long way to go. I mean, I don't think anybody really. Well, maybe they'll have had about 2 or 3 people message me and say that they believe that it's turning, but the vast majority of people I speak to have said it's still a long, long way to go. But the match itself, Scotia, Rangers don't start again for the first 10 minutes. Livingston have the best opportunities in that first period. Majowski with a sitter, really, a chance that he should be scoring. There's absolutely no doubt about it. A guy that I'm beginning to feel slightly not concerned for or sorry for. I don't mean it like that, but we isolate him at times when he very much needs support. He's not a rampaging Alfredo Morelos, for example, or a Igaman, for that example. We need to give him support. We're not really doing that. However, with the inclusion of Ant-Man and Gassama, clearly our most creative player on the left-hand side just now, I liked it more, and I thought, right, there could be something in that. There's actually could be something in that. But anyway, again, I'm kind of digressing here. But we do take the lead with a really good move, Scotia. I think after the initial kind of poor start to the first 10 minutes, Rangers played better football. I don't think that's really up for debate. We definitely played better football and controlled the game for probably about the last 20 minutes or so of the half, maybe 25 minutes of the half. We looked the most dominant team. We scored at that time with a clearly superb finish by James Tavernier. I mean, the guy, I think he's played every position now for Russell Martin apart from the goalkeeper. But look, James Tavernier isn't the player that he once was, but he's one guy that you can't throw that he's chucking at me and he's given up because he's at the right place at the right time. Great work from Gassama, great work from Ant-Man to be the back post. Your right winger being at the back post, again, something that won't catch on, I'm sure. And then James Tavernier with a tidy finish, mate. And at that point, we probably deserved the lead.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm similar to yourself. I think the very first sort of 1 minute of the game, I think Suter played a really nice ball across to Gassama on the left. And then he ran up, nothing happened. And then, like you say, yeah, it was Livy for those first 10 minutes. I think I counted 4 shots they had. I mean, they weren't clear-cut opportunities that they should have scored from. You know, they were, I don't know, they probably weren't even half chances. But they had like 4 shots at least on our goal while we had none. So even up to that 10 minutes, you're getting a wee bit concerned, going, oh, it's going to be another one of those days.
Yep.
As you say, the wee move, we flick on from Raskin, from Majowski, really like that. Majowski should do far better. But I kind of agree with you there in terms of, and this applies to Chermiti as well, where they're just not getting the service up there at the minute with the way we are playing. We're not creating enough opportunities for that lone striker, which needs to get sorted. And yeah, we'll maybe speak about that a wee bit more. But
yeah, Scotia, I'll cut in on you on that because you are right. I think the problem is that we play for a team that plays such a high line at the back. There is just such a big gap between our midfielders and our strikers. Like there seems to be no support in the middle in the 10 area. I know I'm dumbing down football here, but in the 10 area, and for a team that plays so high, it's strange. I just something within the midfield just doesn't work just now.
Yeah, well, I'd seen something on Twitter today of Delo Asgard's heat map for that first half. Well, was it first half? I can't remember. Yeah. It was all in our own half, our half defending, and it was in the left side of the pitch area where Asgard's in, and you're thinking he's going to be playing that number 10 role more centrally, linking up midfield to attack. Now, to me, that's clearly something that Russell Martin's telling him to do, because I don't think you could see sometimes that it's like I was saying about things not coming naturally. I think he'd be far more comfortable having a bit more freedom to play in that link position between a striker and midfield. Yeah, it's a bit a growing concern in terms of us not being able to sort that out. But there was probably more pressing issues for Martin to kind of rectify a minute. But David, I think, sorry, going off on a big tangent here, I just want to pull it up before I forgot. David Craig made a good point there about the Livy and the result that they just get promoted, and we're kind of going on. We've got to remember it's Livingston we're talking about here. Livy, it's going away to Livy's always a hard place anyway because of the pitch, and David Martindale always sets the team out quite stodgily for us to play against. But yeah, I agree with David. It is just Livy that we're speaking about here. Yeah, but.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant by what I mentioned at the start. After it, I was like, yes, it was great to win a game of football, but it was Livingston, and I don't mean any disrespect to them, but I'm not going to get overly the top excited about a last minute win against Livingston. We do have to remember that. As I say, on the odd occasion in a title race, mate, if this fixture was to happen in March and we're in a title race and it happens, by God, you'd be absolutely flying because maybe Rangers had an off day. But it's not because we have had an off day, we've had an off season so far. So
it's all about context.
Yes, it's context, Scotia, exactly. Took the words out of my mouth, mate. There's a reason you're on this podcast, mate.
Yeah, but I agree with you in terms of the rest of the half. I thought good goal by Tab, first of all. In fact, very good goal by Tab because the ball's behind him. Does really well. And who would have thought? I mean, we were all at the start of the season thinking like Tab probably starts getting phased out this team. I think is our top scorer at the minute.
I think I am. Am I not the top scorer for Rangers just now?
Could be. We've not scored that many, and certainly not. In fact, goals for in the league 5. I'm just looking at it there. 5 goals. I think Tav scored 3 of them at least. Not a really good goal, and yeah, Ant-Man does well at the back there. Yep. And as the half went on, I thought we were with the better team playing some decent stuff, which might lead you on to your next comment.
Yeah. Obviously, we were them in a penalty, mate. With Raskin going down in the box after a shot pull. The Moon Howlers will say it's not a penalty, mate, but ultimately it is a penalty. It's just the inconsistency of these decisions. We see them all the time. There's people pulling shots in boxes all the time, mate, but this one goes in our favour. But James Tavernier steps up and unfortunately it's saved by the keeper. I think it's a decent save. I'm not going to lie. I think it is a decent save. Tav's just thought, I'm just going to blast this down the middle, and it just wasn't quite high enough. But we finished the half. Obviously, Cornelius' goal was ruled offside, rightly ruled off a handball when it would have been offside, so it's kind of irrelevant. But at half time, I thought, right, well, we should be ahead by more. Yes, absolutely, we should be ahead by more. And again, at the same time, as I said, I heard my mind saying, but we're not. But I thought, right, surely a second goal here wins it for us. And at half time, Scotia, I was like, it's improvement. It is improvement. Obviously, before what was to come in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be disappointed with that half. Things certainly to improve, but I thought we were starting to play better. A wee bit more like the Hibs and Pilsen game, I think, in terms of how we were playing. Not everything wasn't coming off, and it wasn't the finished article. I'm not saying that, but it was. We were getting into the next second half with a wee bit of optimism. That for me was very quickly wiped out, to be honest.
But I don't know if this at this point, right? And obviously we'll never know because we don't know what happens within the changing room, right, or within the dressing room. We spoke about Russell Martin not dumbing it down, but kind of regressing away from what he believes his full ideology of football will be and making changes to this system. Is he overcomplicating things, but the players have just went out and they've got absolute brain freeze and they can't actually process what they've been telling them? Because if I was the manager, and I'm nowhere near a qualified football manager for it by any stretch of the imagination, but would you not just be going, lads, that was a cracking finish to the half there. You've really come on in the last 25 minutes there. Brilliant. Just keep doing what you're doing. But for Rangers did not come out the dressing room in that second half, mate. We didn't have a shot on target until Mikey Moore hit a shot in the 84th minute.
Those stats are shocking, damning. I'm going to be honest with you, Carney. Within the first 5 minutes of that second half, I was like, this is reverting back to type kind of thing here.
Yep.
And to be honest, I actually kind of fell away from watching the game. I think something popped up in Facebook or Twitter or something that took my attention, and I was kind of like half watching the football and pretty much half watched the rest of the second half, I'm being honest, because we were playing that poorly. Which is the way that, to be honest, it's the way that Rangers have got me feeling at the minute. Apathy is probably the correct word to kind of term it up. It's got to that stage, and when I seen it happening straight away in the second half, that's kind of the pain I fell into. I was like, there's probably stuff that I could be doing. I mean, Twitter and Facebook's probably not the best use of my time, but certainly it felt better than kind of paying full attention to the match on Sunday there, yeah.
We just became sloppy with the passes. We became with no control of the football, let Livingston build himself back in it. We all knew the story. We all knew what was about to happen, that we would concede a sloppy goal. It's a very predictable goal. something we've seen many times. John Souttar's caught under the ball again. It's a header, it's one each, and all of a sudden we've been dragged into this game that we didn't really need to be in. If we'd have just kicked on from the first half into the second half, we should have seen that game out pretty comfortably. It is Livingston we were playing, but all of a sudden we were in this situation where Russell Martin completely left his ideologies and philosophies at the door, and he flung everything at a wall and hoped that something would stick. Left us extremely exposed at the back. Stevie May brought out another save from Jack Butland due to that. It's a risky way to try and win a game of football against a more clinical team, apart from away from Livingston. Again, no disrespect to them, I don't mean it to sound like that, but a more clinical team. Rangers probably don't win that game, but this one we get lucky with. Max Aarons comes on. It's the flick on from Raskin at the near post, as we've seen, and it's an extremely tidy finish. Scotia, I'm not going to take anything away from Max Aarons here. It's a great finish. Pitch in at the bottom corner. Rangers obviously winners at that point, but the most concerning thing for everybody involved in Rangers, apart from the fans that have already made their mind up, is while we celebrated that song, the Russell Martin chant for him to get to another country very quickly became loud and clear for all to hear, and that's from guys at the stadium. That's the away support at the stadium. If that's not a telling feeling of the majority of Rangers fans right now, in terms of where we believe we are going under Russell Martin, then I don't know what is. We always want to see Rangers win. I always want to see Rangers win. Of course I do. However, back to my original point, that win on Sunday means nothing has changed for me. It's still the same. There is still massive concerns with Russell Martin, and I'm yet to be convinced. Am I being too harsh, mate?
Not for me, to be honest. Really, you know me, Carney. I'm usually trying to look for the positives and everything and try and see what we can do. But at the minute, I can't really see anything. I mean, yes, it was a win, but there's still massive concerns there. And like you say, a more clinical team than Livingston probably go away from that game. In fact, a more clinical team, because this game had pretty strong parallels to a game earlier in the season, and a more clinical team did put us to the sword in the Motherwell game earlier on in the season, where we had a decent first half, looking good, came out in the second half and were red rotten and get beat. No, we drew that game, didn't we? It was 1-1, the Motherwell game.
Yeah, we drew that game.
See, even like that's the way Rangers have got me. I'm thinking every game that we've played is a defeat.
Feels like it, but it does feel like it.
That's where I'm at. But yeah, like you say, it's a damning indictment of Russell Martin when the away support, who are probably the more don't I say most loyal, but you know what I mean when I say that like they put up an awful lot. You know, they go to all these games and stuff, they put up with them, and when they go, then there's nowhere back. And for me as well, like you mentioned there about, this was one of the things that got me to put my head up and look at the telly and go, what? When all those changes were getting made. For me, that's a telling sign that the manager doesn't know what he's doing. Yep. He's lost it, he's chasing it, it's too far gone kind of thing when he starts doing stuff like that. Because it wasn't as if it was late, like with the last 5-10 minutes to go. It was like 15 minutes to go or so.
50 minutes to go or so, yeah.
When he started making all those changes. So yeah, philosophy thrown out the window, and you can see maybe he's finally clicking that the most important thing at Rangers is to win games of football. The win games of football, the performance can come second.
Absolutely. At this stage, mate, I'm going to take any win that we can get. I'm not going to be coy about that. We need to win. And the fact that the performance was bad, you're right, cut is secondary, but it is concerning the way that we got that one, if that makes any sort of sense, because you're right. I think the reaction of the management team when they got that goal kind of told its own story. I think the pressure is pretty insurmountable now on Russell Martin. I don't want to say that he would have been sacked, because I don't believe that he would have been, but if we'd had dropped points, or even we'd been beat on Sunday by Livingston, I think there would need to be strong words had with the manager. But he's going to be here, and he does live on. And as I say, with it being, I've had a few guys message me and stuff, a few comments and things as well, saying that I'm wrong in the way that I reported my post-match in terms of that Rangers were outstanding. If you believe Rangers were outstanding on Sunday, then genuinely, that's your opinion. I completely disagree with your opinion, though, and I don't think it is me being tinted glasses against Russell Martin. I just don't believe he has what we require in order to progress, and I think it's far too far gone. I think he knows it's far too far gone, and as Scotia quite rightly said there, when a manager flings everybody on just to try and get a goal, that's a guy that doesn't really know what he's doing, and he's just desperate at this point, and that's really not what we need. It's not what we need to build any sort of sustainable team going forward. And yeah, as I say, I think Rangers get lucky. I really do. We got the goal. Any team could have scored, and we were the one that scored. And that's my honest take on how things went. Russell Martin.
Yeah, and
Russell Martin,
as David said, it was the flinging it against a team, and the team was Livingston, where you're going for the goal. You know that I think that does need to be kept in mind, and kind of when we're talking about things and where we are as a team at the minute.
Context.
No disrespect to Livy. It was against Livingston.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it was against Livingston. I see. Even after I left the pub that I was watching, and I kind of had a wee walk back round to where I was staying, I was like, why do I feel like this after a win? And then obviously just everything you say starts to come back to you, mate, and that's where we are. But Russell Martin after the game, mate, made comment that was the best Rangers had been all season in that first half. I'm not sure I agree with that. For maybe 10 minutes after a couple of good moves, there was a few decent passages of play that we had, but we're still too pedestrian, mate. We're still far too high, but not supporting our striker. We're still far too easy to get at, and we still don't start football games very well. For me, I think the comments were just a manager that was delighted that there was 3 points on the board, and he didn't have to face harsher questions from the media this time round. But I don't agree with him.
Yeah, quite possible. I mean, it's thin pickings in terms of best all season, isn't it? There's not many games to pick from. In fact, there's probably only 2 other games that probably stand out to you there. The Hibs game, which I don't think we were brilliant for the whole 90 minutes. There were still, like I said, me and Ali discussed last week, there was still concerns, there were still issues, there were still things that I would like to see improved. And then obviously the Pilsen game, and again, that was probably for about 60 minutes, 65, 70 minutes, where I think we were linking up very well. A few people have mentioned this in the comments already tonight, and certainly something we've mentioned before is Ant-Man first came in, hadn't been coached by Martin yet, came in free to do what comes naturally to him. Yeah, I can't see where he gets that's the best we've played all season. I'm similar to you. There was good bits of play in amongst that in the first half, but it took us 10 minutes to get into the game first of all, and then we played out the rest of this first half particularly decently, but that second half, when you can't play a game that you've not, I mean, I'm not expecting this to be brilliant, absolutely fantastic for the full 90 minutes, but I would like to see us be fantastic for a lot longer than just 35 minutes.
Well, I think that's I think that's the point as well, Scott. So even if we'd replicated what we'd done in the first half, right, into the second half, you would be able to sit and say, right, well, there was progress there because we were decent for, we were better for 40, 45, maybe 50 minutes of that football game. And we probably, if we matched what we'd done in the first half into the second half, we probably win that maybe 2-0, 3-1, something along the lines of that. The chances are, and because of the way we play, we still concede far too many chances to the opposition. It's far too easy for them to get a chance. But it's the fact that we didn't. It's the fact that the second half was so poor. And I'm not going to give him a pass for a last-minute win when he's flung everything at a wall. I'm just like, that's not progress for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way to look at it is how we would be discussing this if we didn't get that last-minute chance with Aaron's. How would we be discussing that? It would not much different, but probably a lot more negative, but not massively, I wouldn't say. Like you put it quite well. My mind's not. I'm similar to you, and my mind hasn't changed on where I sit with Russell Martin currently in charge of Rangers.
Yeah, exactly that, mate. Exactly that. There is a long way to go for me to get on board with the Russell Martin train anyway. Even if it was free tickets just now, don't think I'd be getting on. We seen Ant-Man coming back in at the weekend, mate, and I wanted to just discuss the kind of right-hand side of the pitch, the kind of forward line for Rangers. We have seen Mikey Moore consistently being played there, but he has been playing more, very much as an inside winger, really, kind of inside forward, I think you call it. Adam will be having a meltdown if he's watching this. He'll be like, it's not called that, it's called this. But you know what I mean, he's playing much more narrow than the traditional winger. The style that we are playing and who we are playing against, I like the idea of actually two fully fledged wingers. I actually thought Ant-Man was pretty good at the weekend. I thought he was pretty decent. He's not the same player maybe yet as Gassama, because Gassama has very much found his feet. Ant-Man might be struggling a little bit to settle. Does happen with players. But I like him, and I like kind of what I've seen from him much more than I have kind of over Mikey Moore. And the clamour's always going to be to play your own players over players that are not your own. But I necessarily don't think that's true, considering Sima and Cherny, the impact they two had. But Mikey Moore for me is just not cutting it. But a lot of people are now speaking about Curtis, mate, and I've seen it, and even in the chat tonight, Finlay Curtis. I feel really sorry for the lad. I think he's a guy that clearly makes a difference for us. In fact, is he not the top goal scorer for Rangers? He must be second top if he is, because I think he scored a few for us this season, I think, hasn't he? There's my stats.
He's about 3 or so as well.
He must be. He must be. But going forward, Scotia, Mikey Moore being on whatever contract condition might be included in that one that we'll never find out. But who's your starting right? Honestly, and I'm not being disrespectful to Mikey Moore, I don't want to feel like I'm bashing him, but I've not seen anything from them that makes me believe that he deserves a start. Not over Ant-Man, and probably not over Curtis.
Yeah, this is something me and Ali kind of touched on last week as well.
Sorry, mate, I've not had a chance to watch your pod back. So
no, it's all good.
Did you do this last week?
No, we kind of did discuss it a wee bit, yeah, and so my thoughts haven't really changed. Unless Moore was in ripping it up and seriously contributing towards the team in an attacking sense, I would have some small qualms because he's not our own player that he was playing, but I could swallow them because he was contributing. At the minute, he's not. So for me, it needs to be Ant-Man. It needs to be. I know Curtis isn't an out-and-out winger type, but if the way that Russell Martin's got Moore playing, and I've not looked into it fully, but I've seen wee rumblings on Twitter today about Moore maybe complaining about where he's getting played and not quite happy with things. That kind of where he's getting played probably suits Curtis a bit more in terms of coming inside a bit more and things like that, and not playing. You notice that as well with Ant-Man, that he's not playing as wide as Gassama is. And I don't know if that's an instruction. I don't know if that's because at times to me it feels like it's just get the ball to Gassama and kind of see what you can do. There's kind of feelings of that around it. But for me, I would be going with Ant-Man and Curtis over Moore at the minute. I think Ali summed it up quite well. And after the first game he'd seen, Curtis knew what Ali's like. He's quite quick to make a snap judgment in a player.
No, don't believe that for a second, mate. Not having it.
Too lightweight, particularly for Scotland. Yeah, it's not really working so far with Moore for me. Don't get me wrong, he's come up and he's had wee bits and decent pieces, but what he's getting asked to do is not suited to him, I don't think. But that doesn't help the fact that he's a young kid, he's coming up here and we're god awful at the minute. So, that can't be an ideal situation for him.
No, he's probably never played against a back 10 either, mate. But again, he's going to have been told all this before he came. Sure, you would like to think he's been told this before they decided to come to Rangers anyway, that the teams that you tend to play against will very much sit in and make things as difficult as possible for you, and it's really up to you to break that team down. You would like to think that he's been told that, but for me, it's just not really worked for Moore, and it's going to happen, I suppose. He is a young lad, but he's not really hit the heights that we thought we were getting with him. I think that's fair to say, and right now I just think it's a better option shape-wise, really, to have, due to the changes that Martin has changed to the kind of the way that he's playing. I think the shape-wise you're better with a more recognised right winger, basically, than Mikey Moore playing kind of inside that area. Maybe he's upset that he's not getting a go on the left-hand side, but he doesn't play over Gassama, and Gassama was ineffective when we were playing him on the right-hand side. I think we've all seen when we put Gassam out to the left-hand side, how much more of a dangerous player, a creative player that he is, because it's his natural position, and for me that's his position. Nobody should be taking that away from him, because he's one of our pretty much only out balls just now. Just get it to him and hope that he does something, I suppose. Quickly, just going to touch on the midfield, Scotia. A lot of people probably at me here. Right now, Cameron's out. Asgard, for me, he shows wee tiny bits and bobs. He's very good at winning fouls. He's playing in the wrong area of the pitch. Don't know if that's tactically or him, or it's subconscious to try and make sure that he's doing every task that Russell Martin might be asking him to do. But he's not the creative player that I thought we were getting. And he has at times looked tired and leggy. So I'm a wee bit concerned about him. Cameron, for me, was a good option there. And I wouldn't be opposed to him getting a few games, or at least a few appearances there, to see if he's got the mustard to cut it, basically. And the rest of the midfield. So Diamandi, for me, again, offers nothing. I've not seen anything from him this season to really make me think that he deserves to continue on playing. I thought Barron showed more than Diamandi did, and they're kind of different players in that regard. Raskin's clearly our midfielder that starts. He should be the first name on the team sheet really just now. But Rothwell has showed wee sparks of being able to get the ball and run forward, break forward, as that a six we would need a six that's basically maybe not so much box to box, but very versatile, whether you need him to make a tackle, to bring a pass in, to win you a foul, to turn and drive with a ball. He's done bits of all of it at different stages. He's never really had a complete performance. But right now, mate, I just feel like the midfield doesn't really work. And I'm struggling to figure out what my three would be in the middle of the pitch. Can you enlighten me, Scotia? What do you think the middle three should be? Because right now, apart from Raskin, probably Barron, just based on his performances of late. To get more out of the more attacking of the three players, I'm struggling to think what we do. Asgard's obviously our player. We were all excited about him, but Cameron, if I'm being honest, has probably shown me more in that area than he has.
Yeah, so I mean, basically what you're asking for is, can we have Stephen Davis playing in our midfield?
That's absolutely, mate. Yes, I don't think that's a hard thing to ask for, is it?
That type of player, I think. Yeah, we're still not quite there with the midfield, and I'd mentioned this while we were going through all. We were kind of maybe all focusing on the defensive issues and defensive mistakes that were getting made, and still are getting made, but to a lesser extent than they were. The defence, because it's been a bit more settled, they're growing a bit more comfortable, but where there's still issues in the middle of the park. Martin's not found the best trio to play in that position. I don't think they've not really linked up. So what do we do going forward? I agree, Raskin's definitely got to start. The 10, for me, it's probably between Asgard and, like you say, Cameron. Hopefully I think he's obviously the press conference has not been for the game on Thursday night, but I think he's getting close to coming back into the team soon, and I'd quite like that, because Cameron, for me, showed kind of small shades of being an Arfield type player. How Arfield played for us. Quite excited by, or not excited, quite excited actually by Cameron. So looking, he could do it. And then you've also got, obviously I know he's not going to be available for Thursday, but you've got Barjami in there as well, whether he's part of the plans when he's come on. I think there's something that he can contribute to the team. It's the other person that you play alongside Raskin. I'm similar to yourself. Diamandi this season's just, he's not good going at all this season for me. Barron, when he's come in, has been good, but then Barron's also, for me, he's a squad player. He'll play really well, and then a couple of games, and then he'll have the one game per year then, like, that's a bit poor. And then the one that you say there, Rothwell, like you, the wee kind of sub appearances he's made, for me, the last few games, he's looks decent. I know while he was out injured, he obviously made, I can't remember what podcast it was on, but was it Barry Douglas, I think, was saying it. Open goal, was it Open Goal? Yeah, about is he getting played in the wrong position? And I'm just looking at it basically. I would, the way she were asking in Rothwell, but have them switch from where they were playing at the start, where Martin had them playing. Have Rothwell playing where Raskin is and Raskin playing where Rothwell was. I don't know if there's anything that could be done with that. Yeah, it's something we need to sort out, because for me, the midfield kind of is a pivotal area of the pitch and how we perform and how we are able to provide chances to the striker, which, like I mentioned earlier, we're not creating an awful lot of clear-cut chances for the strikers at the minute, and that kind of hinges on the midfield. I'm similar to yourself, and I've mentioned it. Is Asgard getting told to play somewhere different than he should be playing? I think there definitely are bits of that, because I think you can see a bit of hesitancy in his game at times in terms of where he's sitting in the pitch. I would like to see him further forward. Yeah, it is a bit of a conundrum, because I've not kind of nailed down my starting three midfield that I would have, like that I would constantly go to. Whereas I'm probably more comfortable in going for like a settled back five and top three. It's the midfield at the minute, it's a bit up in the air for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stephen makes a good point there in the comments. The players have to be given the freedom to play. I agree with that. I think there's too many shackles on players. Asgard might be one of them. Again, it's very much outsider looking in kind of stuff. But when you see like the likes of Raskin being the one that flicks about in Majovski, for Majovski's chance at the weekend there, that should be where Asgard is, really, if that's the way we're looking to play. And it seems to be bypassing him a little bit, whether he can't fully understand what Russell Martin wants him to do, whatever it may be, but he's just not having the impact that I thought he would. But the midfield has yet to settle, that's for sure, as has the team. But you have to give the benefit of the doubt to a certain extent, the fact that we won at the weekend, and then hopefully it's not another false dawn and we see Rangers kick on a bit from it. From that, mate, we'll move to our next game as we play the second game of the Europa League group stage, whatever you want to call it. League stage, I suppose, as we play Sturm Graz on Thursday evening. Kickoff is 8 o'clock, and obviously over in Austria. They are doing not too shabby themselves just now. They are sitting second in their league with it's behind Rapid, and they have a game in hand over Rapid, so they played one game less, and they could go top from there. They have won 5, lost 2, drawn 0. They have scored 12 goals and conceded just 4. However, the first game of the Europa League campaign for them didn't start too well, as they went down 2-0 to Midtjylland. Scotia, there's no doubt this is a tough tie. We've played Austrian teams before, and we tend to be pretty successful against them. Let's not lie. We tend to do all right against them. However, this is a tough one. For us to have any chance, really, I think we have to win, really, in order to progress without them. To reach the top, is it the top 8 we need to get to, isn't it? That's right. So to get to the top 8.
Top 8 gives you automatic qualification. It's the top 24 that gets you into the... If you're in between
playoff.
9th and 24th, you get the last 32, don't you? Top 8 gets you into the last 16.
But either that, mate, he's going to need to win a game, so it might as well. We're going to need to win a game soon against an opposition, and we've got tougher games, no disrespect, than Sturm Graz coming up. So I think it's pretty critical for Rangers to get off the mark at least on Thursday.
No, definitely. I said last week with Pearson that as a minimum, I was wanting 2 wins in the Europa League and 2 wins in the league. He's already straight away failed in that mark with the game on last Thursday, at Ibrox against who did we play? I forgot. It escaped my mind. Who did we play last Thursday?
Genk. Sorry, mate. Genk. I was like, what? I was reading comments. I don't know what I was letting you have your saying. I was going to tune back into you.
Sorry, just a completely escaped the name. Completely slipped out of my mind there. Yeah, so it's a must win for me in the Europa League if we're wanting to progress. And it's again, this Sturm Graz were a pot 3 team. So again, one of the teams that on paper are ranked lower than you. But as you say, this looks as if it got off to a pretty decent start in the league. I can't say I watched much Austrian football. It was almost a year ago. I was actually in Vienna, and I was actually hoping to get to a game when I was over there, but there wasn't. I don't think there was any games when I was across, unfortunately. it's must win for me. Needs to win to have any aspirations of doing well in this group, because I think we then come back and play Bran away from home after the international break, and then the big boys come to Ibrox in terms of Roma. So it really needs to get off the mark here. And again, like last week, nothing less than a win's acceptable for me.
Well, if he doesn't win again, we're back to square one again. Even I mean, I don't know if you can call it square one. I don't think we've really left it. But with the chance that we're happening after the second goal against Livingston, I don't think we're really. I think it's moving past square one's a bit too much to say. We've maybe peeked outside the box to see what's there, but I agree. I don't think any Rangers fan will really accept anything other than a win. And it's crazy to think. The biggest concern that I have and still have is that we just don't create enough chances. We don't create enough goal scoring chances. We get too bogged down in the middle of the pitch. We play all our football in the last little probably quarter of our half into the first little quarter of their half, and then we don't go any further than that. And we constantly recycle the ball, and we just don't create enough goal scoring opportunities. And then European competitions, you're going to have to take your chances when they come to you, but you need to create them. So I'd be lying if I knew fully what to expect from this Rangers team on Thursday evening. I have my ideas of what I might see from this Rangers team on Thursday, but I can't disagree with Scotia. I think for any aspirations of progressing in a serious way in this competition, then we have to win. And winning is also a habit, and this one step forward, two step back can't continue to go on. So for everybody's sake, a win on Thursday is pretty crucial for the career of Russell Martin. Can I call it that when I still think the guy's going to be sacked? I don't know. It's a difficult one to try and kind of get your head around and get the right words for. But yeah, I would expect a win, and I do expect a win. On to that, Scotia. Obviously, Diomande suspended for this game. Is it this game or the next one? This game.
Straight red, wasn't it? So
straight red for this game. Yeah, so Diomande is suspended for this game. So on that, Scotia, what is your team and your score prediction for Thursday, mate?
Team right, Butland in goals. I think the back four stays the same. But I said this last week, and I'll say it again. It wouldn't surprise me if Giga comes in, but to have Suter, Cornelius, and Magoma, Raskin. This is where I'm struggling. Like we were just discussing in terms of the settle midfield. I've got a feeling Rothwell might come back in, starting from the start. And like I say, I would like to see them play in the opposite positions they were playing in earlier in the season. And I think it's probably a game too soon for Cameron. If Cameron was available, I'd maybe go for Cameron. But I think it will be Asgard. Ant-Man on the right, Kasama on the left, and I'll stick with Miovski. Wouldn't surprise me though if Chimiti was in, but yeah, I'll stick with Miovski. Last week I went for a 3-1 Rangers victory. This week I'm going to go for a 2-1 Rangers victory. But I don't know where I'm pulling that from, Carney, because I'm like you. I don't know what to expect. I thought we were going to see something decent last week and we didn't. So I honestly don't know what to expect.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to try and predict, mate. That's for certain. And my score prediction would be exactly the same. That's more out of hope and expectation, I think, genuinely. I don't know if it's a real belief that I think Rangers will go out and get a win out in Austria, but I'll take 2-1 as my score. In terms of the team, I think Chermiti will come back in. I think he will bring Chermiti back in. Again, the money that was spent on him, European game, I just feel like he will bring him back in. The other front two, I would agree with you. Gassama and Ant-Man for me, so everybody be prepared for Mikey Moore starting. The midfield three, again, I can't really disagree, mate. I think Rothwell coming back in, I think would turn a lot of people's noses up, and he would really need to perform very well. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those games that if he is brought back in, he's really going to need to put a hell of a shift in and make a bit of an impact in the game, because a lot of people have already made their mind up about him, including I'd say I'm kind of 60-40 on him, really. But I think just wee bits that I've seen since he's come on, I thought, well, hang on, maybe he's finding his feet a little bit. The midfield three, as I say, I think it's either Raskin, Rothwell and Asgard, or Raskin, Barron and Asgard. I think will be the midfield three. If Cameron was fit, I again wouldn't be opposed to giving him a shout, and the back five picks itself just now. Say 2-1 for me, and Yeah, I don't care who scores first. I really don't. But preferably not Sturm Graz. It would be nice if we scored first. That would be quite nice. But I'm not really bothered. I'll say Shamiti to score first or Gisama to score a worldie. But yeah, a win is a priority and a real must on Thursday to give us any real chance of progression in this competition, and we don't just get stuck kind of getting bogged down with poor European results. That will do us for this evening. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and joining us tonight. I'm so happy my Wi-Fi held up, considering I'm in a hotel, and Scotia's Wi-Fi held up at the same time. Honestly,
I think that's about 3 weeks in a row. That's 3 pods in a row, Carney.
And you went on mute. You went on mute tonight, mate. Either at any point, mate, you went on mute. Real progress is happening on this podcast. Let's hope it transfers onto our football team. That's what we've got to hope. But Scotia, for joining me, mate, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Carney. Good to be discussing tonight. Yeah, have a nice evening, everyone. Thanks for all joining us. And I'm away to watch the second half of some of the European games. Just turned around there and seen Galatasaray were 1-0 up against Liverpool. So,
well, I think I seen earlier on somebody said Chelsea were winning as well. I think Chelsea are winning. I don't know if they were winning.
I've not actually looked at the scores while I've been recording this. It was just that one was on the screen when I turned around.
Yeah. But yeah, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, all the usual stuff. We will be back on Thursday with a reaction, win, lose or draw, that's for absolute sure. Until then, I hope the next time you see me and maybe Scotia, I don't know who's on Thursday, but see, we don't plan that far ahead. I'll be on, Scotia might be on, Ali might be on, Ross might be on too, you never know. But we'll bring a reaction after the game, and I hope it's a win for Rangers in Europe. That's what we've got to hope. So yes, thank you for tuning in. We are Club at 22 the Rangers podcast, and speak to you all on Thursday. Cheers, everybody.